Quiet, please. Wait a sec. I'll take one. Oh yeah. All right. All good. Take care. Way to go. Nice. Bring it on. Gotcha. I'm here for you. Oh no. Please, please, please. I'm waiting. Interesting. Not buying it. Not fair. That's it. This conversation is over. Oh, brother.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things.
I'm having a stroke. I'm having a stroke.
Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time. Time to call 911 immediately. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Learn the body language, the sudden signs, and spot a stroke fast.
We know for a fact that African Americans develop hypertension twice as often as non-African American people do. And then also diabetes, also obesity. Blood pressure is not just one number. It is a range of pressures that curse through your system as your heart beats. So a simple thing like lowering your blood pressure by 5 millimeters or more is a really good thing to do. And then what happens is when your blood pressure goes up in range or down in range, you stay at a lower level. So what we want to do is instead of having your blood pressure stay at this range like this, if you can imagine having your blood pressure stay at this range a little bit lower, and that promotes longevity, live longer, healthier, and you feel better.
All my life, I've been eating wrong. Every day, my precious grandmother, who I love dearly, fixed pork chop and mustard sandwiches. Now, you know pork chop is not good for your system, but I grew up every day in school for all my formative years, basically eating pork.
One of the things that we do socially, since we don't always have a clientele of people that we are around that drink or smoke, we eat. After service, the first thing everybody wants to know is, where are you going to eat at? And we go to some of the restaurants that serve some of the great buffets that we know, and it was all you can eat, not looking at the content of the product that we're eating. It was just the social thing to do.
Americans now have decided that it's good to have these big, gigantic plates. And what we do is it distorts our food portion sizes. And as a result of that, we don't really have a good idea of what the right portion of meat is, the right portion of vegetables. And so to have a smaller plate is a smart thing to do. Some people argue back to me, well, I'm just going to go back and take a second helping. But if you do that, now you are making yourself realize I'm overeating.
If you eat socially, you don't have to stop. Just change what you eat. And portion control. You don't have to always go to where they're serving the biggest portion.
I do something really to some people that they would say is wasteful. But if I go to Burger King, I mean, nobody's perfect, fast food place, I'll take a portion of the French fries right after I get my bag. And as I drive through and pass that trash can, chuck them. Take 25, 30% of the fries, throw them away. Because if you leave them in the bag, you're going to eat them. But throw them away and you've already reduced your intake by 150 calories, just like that. So I try to get my patients to understand you really don't need to put salt shakers on the table. And that makes a lot of people raise their eyebrows when I say that. What do you mean, don't put salt on the table? Well, you know, you have to first make yourself aware of the fact that you are putting salt on your food, which you really don't need. Most people don't understand you don't need added salt to live. There's enough salt in your everyday food intake to keep you alive. We don't really need as humans more than 1 level teaspoonful of salt per 24 hours to survive. We do not discover often that we have hypertension until we get the symptoms and it's too late and it has damaged us and the heart disease is there and the kidney disease is there. Now you have to try to reverse something that's very difficult to reverse. So what we want to do is have primary care physicians to check us and tell us that our high blood pressure is developing or that our blood pressure is high.
While driving, I felt a numbness come over my body. In my shoes, my feet was doing like this, and then my hands got like this, and my mouth, the contortion, and I knew it was a stroke, but I didn't know what to do. And I was blessed that God allowed me to pull the car over to the side of the road, and I prayed. 20 to 30 minutes later, it was gone. Next morning, immediately, as soon as I was able, went to my physician, and he said it was hypertension, brought on by probably my diet and stress.
If you have an abnormality that develops with your speech, where you are not talking like you normally talk, or if you begin to feel something strange in your hands or face or upper body, like numbness or tingling, or if you have difficulty smiling or moving your mouth or closing your eyes, and this happens all of a sudden or develops over a period of hours, that should be considered an emergency. You cannot wait until tomorrow to get a ride. You need to be transported immediately, because we realize that time is tissue damage. Every hour that you wait puts you further down the scale to a possible recovery.
I was at my office. I began to feel kind of a little different, like I had indigestion, so I ate, and the problem increased. And I told my coworker that I wasn't really feeling well and I was going to lay down. And as I laid there, the discomfort that I was feeling in my chest began to increase, and it felt like a slight indigestion. And I had a pain that was in my left shoulder. And those were the only things that I felt. And I figured, well, something that I ate earlier really didn't agree with me. So I laid there and finally went home, went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, I was feeling fine.
Some years later, doing what I do all the time, just run, run, run. And again, my diet is still the same. I went to church. I preached that morning, had not eaten, had not taken time to rest between the first service at our own church and the one in the afternoon, and that's when I suffered the heart attack. The minister there recognized something was wrong because my speech was slurred, my focus was off, and I could not breathe. And they set me down, and they had called the paramedics, and they immediately took me over to St. Mary's Hospital.
So 2 days later, which was a Friday, I began to feel kind of uneasy in my chest again. And then I began to get like a perspiration, like a sweat, and I wasn't hot. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to the emergency room. So as I prepared to gather my things and prep myself for the emergency room, because you need to kind of prep yourself. Folk gonna be looking at you, you gotta prep yourself. So I prepped myself with the quickness and got to the emergency room. The doctor came back after he had looked at the test, and he said really he wanted to do a further exam. And as men do, I wanted to set an appointment, okay, rather than have it done that night. And they were saying, well, no, you really need to get this looked at tonight. They shared with me that I had 3 blocked arteries. And I was wondering, I don't know very much about the heart, but 3 blocked arteries seemed to be very serious to me.
I was told repeatedly, change your diet, get rest, but I didn't do it. I kept on eating pork chops, kept on eating ham hocks, kept on eating greens, cornbread. I'm not a sweet person, but you put cornbread and greens in front of me, I'll eat all day long. And I did, until I had the second heart attack.
Years ago in the 40s and 50s, we used cigarettes as a weight deterrent. We used them to actually stop from gaining weight. Now we know that that should not be a part of our health belief model.
But I was a smoker, and I think that contributed to my stress, my hypertension, my heart attack, my stroke years ago. It's because I smoked since I started at 12 or 13 in the community. All young black men love to smoke because you emulate what you see on television. Cool cigarettes, that was bad. I have not smoked now in 36 years. And I'm so glad, I'm grateful. I'm free of that. I got other problems, but I'm free of that one.
I think it would be a good idea in our families to say, okay, we're gonna have our meal and then we're all gonna get up and go for a walk. Because if you go for a nice 15, 20-minute walk, after you get through eating, it helps your digestion, it stops you from overeating, and the most important thing it does is it pushes you away from that table so that you don't sit there, just keep eating and eating and eating. Next thing you know, you've taken in twice the number of calories that you normally would take in.
When setting goals as far as changing your eating habits, try to plan and have a goal that's achievable. Sometimes we do what's called shotgunning it, which means we make a drastic change and then we fall off the wagon.
I'm 64. I want to be here at 84, 94, even 104. But this last heart attack taught me, and hearing over and over the word hypertension and stress, I've had to change my diet. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm getting stronger, I'm getting better at it. I'm more conscious of what I eat and what's in it. Exercise is a part of what I have to do now, even if it's just taking a stroll, walking around the block.
Exercise should be fun. Movement should be fun, and it's something that you should do throughout your life, right up until death, when they roll you into the coffin. You don't have to necessarily go to a gym. You don't have to necessarily go out in a park and jog. You can grab a couple of cans of pork and beans and squat with 2 cans of just a couple of pounds and push those cans up and then bring them back and then squat. And you can do that 10 or 15 times. And then you take a minute or 2 break to catch your breath. And then you do it again for 10 or 15 times. Somehow you need to find 30 minutes, 5 out of 7 days, to do fast walking, exercise, something that can help you keep your muscle tone and will also contribute to preventing diabetes and hypertension.
You only have one life to live. Live it joyfully. Let God be your guide and learn to take care of yourself. You'll be better off.
We encourage people to check their blood pressure, change their eating habit, and control their outcome. Because you have the power to end stroke and heart disease.